Welcome to the new series on the channel, Minecraft Hardcore World Swap. We've also added some challenges in, so be sure to stay watching to hear more about that. Anyways, I got my friend Gray and I to hop onto a server where we both are teleported thousands and thousands of blocks away from each other. Every hour of this recording, we will swap positions and have to continue what the other was working on. This is Minecraft World Swap. We are also making this challenge accepted. I totally didn't take this idea from Havenhand or from Volcar. Anyways, every single episode, the most liked comment down below will decide on a challenge that Gray and I will have to complete by the end of the episode. And of course, I won't bore you with the intro anymore, but make sure to like and subscribe as it does help out a lot. And now it's time to go ahead and start the gameplay. We start off thousands of blocks away from each other, and it's time to do what we always do, collect our resources. Gray had spawned on some mountains, which he intended to build on, and I spawned in a forest. Both of us started towards grabbing stone tools and some coal, extra wood, and began looking for food. I collected some food and began smelting it up while Gray started heading into a cave. He killed some monsters, but the cave didn't have much to offer, so he headed back up to go looking for some food himself. My food was still cooking, so I went around and collected the sugarcane I'd need for enchantments down the line. With my food completely cooked, it was time to go make a boat and begin looking for some treasure, or anything honestly. I didn't find anything of value, but it began turning night, so I landed back where I started and it was time to take a nap. It was time for both of us to hit the mines, for real, as neither of us had decent gear. So both of us started our caving experience in the morning. The cave I found didn't have too much, so I grabbed a little amount of iron in there before running out and finding a much nicer, deeper cave nearby. Gray was able to find a better one that he stayed in for longer. Slowly but surely, the two of us slowly upgraded our tools and armor to iron for better defense. Gray was able to find a spider spawner while mining, which, as cool as it is to find a spawner, spiders are hard to make a grinder out of, and the chest didn't have much value, so it was a little bit of a letdown. Anyways, he set up some furnaces in the lit up spawner to smelt up some more iron. Around the time, I found a pretty sweet ravine, and where I found my first diamonds. It was an 8 vein, so a pretty solid start to the series. I continued poking around mining any gold, redstone, or lapis I could find, and stumbled upon a mine shaft with plenty of ores exposed and some extra fun spiders. It makes for quite an adventure. It's about time to sleep again, so we took a nap, and in the morning Gray headed back up to the surface, while I was still intent on finding more diamonds. He went out to look for more food, an interesting place to live, and getting important resources for farms. I actually got incredibly lucky, and when mining some coal to get more torches, I actually found more diamonds hidden below them. I found another vein of diamonds shortly after, while Gray decided to start looking for a village or a dark oak forest, which lo and behold, he found one a little later. He just took down the coordinates as there wasn't much point chopping logs with only a stone axe. I found some more diamonds as well. We were both having some pretty good luck. Gray kept exploring for a village or some interesting loot. After plenty of exploring, he found himself at a desert village. He looted all of the items in the chests along with grabbing any of the food he could find. Another important thing was for him to make sure to trap villagers so he could keep them alive and exploit them down the line. After doing all of this, Gray started heading out as there wasn't much else to do there until we decided to start working with the villagers. Around this time, I decided to surface and find an area to settle. When I went up, Gray realized that he didn't have anything more than iron armor, so it was time for him to go down. I had collected 31 diamonds, so he'd have plenty for tools, armor, and enchantments. I placed down a chest and threw everything I didn't want in my inventory before starting on some basic farms. I also crafted up a diamond sword and a pickaxe along with the chest plate. Around this time, Gray had also gotten deep into the caves looking for diamonds, but he was being unlucky, only to find emeralds and redstone so far. The swap was coming up soon, so I left behind 16 diamonds for him to make use of when he got to my base. I made sure to keep 2 on me so I could make an enchant table before the swap, and I went and placed a bunch of sugarcane, collected a bunch of seeds before making a small wheat farm, and I bone mealed it up in order to get wheat to bring cows and sheep over to some pens. Gray found a few diamonds towards the end, and now, about time for swap. The way we're swapping is both people are being sent to the other's settling locations, so while we were exploring, we decided where we wanted to settle and recorded those coordinates for us to be teleported to. My spot was where I had started setting stuff up, but Gray's was right next to where he spawned. It was a really cool mountainous area that would be a ton of fun to build with. Gray promptly started smelting up all of the iron, gold, and food he had collected prior to the swap, and I decided that I just wanted to begin exploring as much as I could. I found a lava pool on the surface in a nearby forest, so I decided to make some obsidian and collect what I would need for an enchantment table and another portal. Shortly after, Gray was able to find a village nearby to my settlement, so we now have easy access to villagers at both places. He trapped some and took the coordinates of the village. For now, however, there wasn't much else to do there. I returned from grabbing the obsidian and crafted up the enchant table, where Gray was going to settle. Unfortunately, I'm an idiot and left all of my lapis back at my base, so I would have to wait. For now, I just placed the enchantment table in my inventory and went exploring too. I found a broken nether portal with nothing of use in it, and then a little later, I also happened to stumble across a village. This one was really far from Gray's place, so there was no point in taking down the coordinates. I just took everything from them. The hay bales would come in handy for breeding and plenty of food. For some reason, I didn't grab their crops. I guess I just forgot they were there. Around this time, Gray returned to my base, where he tended to some farms and began the construction of the first structure of the series. And what do you know? It's a shack. It's a very nice shack, though. I do have to give him some credit. About when Gray finished up the shack, I found a second village, and this time I made sure to take all of the crops, as well as grab everything from chests. Gray added a pathway around the shack to make it a little spicier, and I found a broken nether portal under the water that I wanted to go loot. And as the day started to become night, it's getting about time to swap. This will be the final hour of the episode as I come back to my base to continue working on my base now. Somehow, Gray forgot to record this section, so I guess we only have my perspective. I suppose it's not too big of a deal because he mostly just caved and explored, so you're not really missing too much progress anyways. Plus, you'll see it as soon as you watch the next video. Well, I started out by tending to my crops a little bit and breeding the animals that I could. I also extended the crops farm to accommodate for the potatoes and carrots that I collected while looting on the last swap. Also, now that I was finally back at my base, I had some lapis. I could finally enchant up my stuff with some level 1 enchants. When I collected the obsidian for enchants, I also made sure to collect enough for the nether portal, and now that I needed an easy way to get bone meal for crops and trees, I figured the best way would be to go to the nether and look for a soul sand biome. Hey look, I spawned directly next to some bone blocks. Exactly what I'm looking for. I collected up about a stack and a half of bone blocks before returning to my portal. I then started harvesting plenty of spruce and oak logs. The spruce I grew 4x4 trees and then chopped them down over and over again to get plenty of it, and while the oak logs, I just went to the nearby forest and committed some casual deforestation. Now that I had plenty of resources, I started clearing out a large area and collected a ton of dirt to fill in the ground and flatten it out. Before starting on the base, I decided to fill out my crops with the bone meal I had. With everything prepared, I took all of the resources I had and began my base. I knew Gray disliked building with spruce, so I decided to start the base as soon as I could before the swap, just to make sure that Gray couldn't change it to dark oak. I definitely prefer spruce personally. Anyways, for anyone wondering the way I build, why don't I go through it a little bit for you? I often just build a cobblestone framework with logs as the supporting factor. I always build these logs one block out from the cobblestone, as it helps make depth and leaves places for you to add details and windows later on. After making the foundation, I draw the blocks up 3 or 4 more, then I make some support beams stretching between the pillars. I personally feel like it adds a lot more to the look of the structure of the house. I bring up the cobblestone as well and fill in the floor with some oak planks. The next step is to throw some cobblestone into the furnace to make up some stone bricks. It makes a good ridge on the roof of the house. I spent as much time as I could making the roof, but I wasn't gonna have time to finish it, so I guess we'll just have to see what Gray does with the rest of the house in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.